Nice. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Sophie Alexander, the owner of the Nutritional Wellness Center, and I'm thrilled to be talking today with Ryan Kimball about healthy keto and intermittent fasting. And this is the first talk of our Optimized Mitochondrial Function series that we're doing. And so, yeah, really thrilled amount of people that have joined us today and excited to be sharing this information. I'm pretty sure most of you know me, but I always just like to do brief introduction at first, in case you don't, or in case someone watches the recording who hasn't met me before. So as I said, yeah, I'm the owner and lead practitioner at the Nutritional Wellness Center. And my story of getting into nutrition and doing this work really started from a young age. Unfortunately, from a young age, dealt with allergies and digestive issues, hormonal imbalance, and it built and built until I was 22 and got Lyme, and unfortunately didn't catch it at the time of the tick bite, and it became arthritic and more chronic in symptoms. And it was dealing with that very much sent me down an alternative health path, and I found my way. I started studying nutrition, and then I found my way to nutrition response testing. And that was about 12 years ago that I personally started doing that work. And I know it was eye-opening at the time when I began, because as I said, I was already studying nutrition. Like, I already thought I ate well. I was already gluten-free. I was doing all these things. And my eyes were very much opened to the amount of sugar that was in my diet in the form of carbohydrates, in the form of hidden sugars, and the lack of healthy fats in my diet. And making those changes were part of some of the profound changes that I experienced in my health once I began doing nutrition combined with nutrition response testing. And so that's a big piece of why I'm really excited to be sharing this topic, particularly with clients, because yes, keto has become super popular, and for good reasons, because it does a lot of amazing things in the body. We want to give you more of that data about like why that is, and take it some steps further too of how it impacts health. But before we get into that, sorry, meant to go to this slide a minute ago. That's my story. But I'm excited to introduce Ryan. So Ryan's the owner of Longevity Fitness and Health, and he will stay muted just until it gets to his turn to speak, just for background noise. But he's waving there if you see him. Ryan has just had a long passion for nutrition, and particularly holistic nutrition, keto, intermittent fasting, and he is a Berg's keto and intermittent fasting coach. And so he has just years of personal experience. He's always been an inspiration to me because of how dedicated he personally has been. And with his training, he's so adept to be really customizing this process for people. So he's going to be speaking in a few minutes, but I thought before that I would give some background as to why this is part of our Optimized Mitochondrial Function series, and how that ties in. Because the benefits of keto really become at a cellular level. I first heard about a ketogenic diet when I was about 10 years ago. I was studying my master's degree in nutrition, and it was being talked about then in helping epilepsy, in children. So it wasn't being talked about as a broad-based diet for weight loss or any of these other benefits that we now know of, but it was being talked about in terms of how it was changing the brain by making the brain burn ketones instead of burning glucose. And I remember being fascinated by that, and really sort of tucking that away, right? And then, of course, in clinical practice, like, we see regularly that pretty much everybody who walks in our door can benefit from having less carbohydrates in their diet and more healthy fats. But that conversation has becoming more complex. With the sicker people have been getting over the past 10 years, but also the rise in popularity of keto, and then the confusion that comes with that, right? Because we need to know that people are actually know what that word means and are doing it correctly, and things like that. But to get me back to the cellular level, so you may be hearing even more and more about mitochondria these days. It's really a key piece in understanding the barriers to wellness. And so the mitochondria are often referred to as the powerhouse of the cell. And they take the energy that we take from food and they help us convert it into energy that our cells use. But the mitochondria aren't just about energy production, because they're present in all different types of cells and they're vital to our survival. And these barriers that we see come up that are inhibiting mitochondrial function is really the underlying causes of most poor health. So here are some very common symptoms that can connect to so many things, but also do connect to the fact that the mitochondria are struggling. So that's gray hair and fatigue, poor memory, loss of brain function, just foggy brain, hearing loss, fatty liver, kidney problems, infertility, vision problems, digestive issues, insulin resistance, muscle weakness, and cramping, particularly muscle cramping. So there are many things, as I alluded to, that damage the mitochondria. We find, especially with the nutrition response testing work that we do, that it's different forms of viruses, parasites, heavy metals, chemicals, medications, factors like poor sleep and poor sleep habits, coarse food, and that's what a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. And then people's stress levels as well, all contribute to this stress at a cellular level. So what's cool about the keto diet, actually eating that way, and Ryan will be telling us more exactly what that way means, but it increases the number of mitochondria we have. And so when we have more mitochondria, this really optimizes our cellular and organ health. It optimizes our ability to live long and healthy life, because and part of what we see in practice, because we see so much of these toxicity barriers as being a part of why the mitochondria are struggling so much. Eating in this way enhances detoxification in the body, and particularly when the body finally lets go of fat stores where so many toxins are being bound up in the fat cells, and it improving liver health, things can really start to move and actually come out of the body. And then the mitochondria can, not only there be more of them, but they can be repaired as well. All right, and so with that, I'm going to do a little Zoom technical thing here and pin Ryan so you can see him, and he's going to take over. And yay, I think I did it. And then I'm going to mute myself. And welcome, Ryan. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and great information. Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay, great. Great. And yeah, so you've already said who I am and what I do, so we can go to the next slide. There we go. Great. So yes, I wanted to go over specifically what keto was and what that meant. It's become kind of a buzzword lately. Everybody wants to do, or not, maybe not everybody, a lot of people want to do the keto diet. So keto is actually short for ketogenic. And this refers to basically a diet that is high in fat. It's got sufficient protein, and key to it is it's got low carbohydrates and no sugars, especially at the beginning. And what this does is it forces the body to actually burn fat and use that for its energy source. And this has all sorts of benefits. And this is instead of burning carbohydrates and sugars. So basically, you're training your body to do something it doesn't normally do. And in doing that, you're then able to train your body to burn fat that you have on your body. So it's a great weight loss technique. But as Sophie said, underlying all of it is that it helps the energy production of the body and helps with different repair functions. So we can go to the next screen there. Okay, great. So one thing we use with a ketogenic diet a lot is intermittent fasting. So this is basically just a pattern of eating where we're fasting for a longer period of time, no snacks in between the meals, and then we eat, and we want to eat just a ketogenic diet when we do eat for the optimum results with intermittent fasting. If you ever tried it and it didn't quite work, it could be because you weren't actually in ketosis when you were doing it. Typically, you would do intermittent fasting for a 16-hour period, or you can go up to 23 hours. Anything longer than that is considered extended fasting, which is possible, but we won't get into that now. And it's interesting that fasting really isn't a new thing. It's like it's new to our modern way of life, but it's not actually new to the way we've lived for thousands of years. And ancient times, obviously, we didn't have supermarkets or Wegmans down the street, unfortunately, and we didn't have refrigerators and all that. So we actually learned to go extended periods of time without eating, and the body was during those times actually healing and repairing and regenerating itself. So it's a very beneficial activity when it's done correctly, of course. It's actually eating 3 to 4 times a day is something that we've been taught by the people who sell us food, basically. So it's not necessarily a natural thing to eat, so many times a day. You can eat once a day if you do it correctly and get amazing benefits from it. So that's intermittent fasting, and we'll go over that more later as well. Okay, great. Okay, good. So yes, underlying the majority of our health problems is one common situation. And I want to go over a little bit about what those health problems are. And then we'll go over what the underlying situation is that we're going to address, anyways, with what we're doing here with the ketogenic diet. So first, you have belly fat, visceral fat. So this is the fat in and around your organs in your belly area, and weight problems in general. Obviously, this is very hard on the body. So we want to help reduce both the fat in and around your organs so they can operate better. And of course, less weight helps with overall health and metabolism. And then you have, body pain, stiffness often comes in the forms of arthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, etc. Heart disease and its attendant problems as well, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arrhythmias, and then, of course, digestive issues. This has become very common these days. And interestingly enough, the ketogenic diet can help with these things because it trains your body to process things in a different way than it has been. And we'll go over that more later. And obviously, it's gone over extensively in the program. I think there's some more on the next one. Yeah, mood disorders. Yeah, this is a great thing about the keto diet is that a lot of people experience a stability with their emotions, and they become more in control of how they feel. You get these mood swings a lot when you're eating a lot of high carbohydrate foods. I think anybody who's eaten the modern diet to some degree will know about that. But the ketogenic diet, because you're using a different source of fuel, allows your body to stabilize and not have those emotional swings up and down. And of course, that can lead to, improved mental health as well. Less anxiety or depression, of course. And then, cognitive problems. So one of the things about the ketogenic diet, Sophie touched on earlier, is that it's actually used in many treatments these days to help people who have some sort of mental problem and to help them improve that. So it can also help with just general things like improving memory, allowing a person to focus more. You're getting that stability of energy in your production of energy. So that's allows you to think more clearly, etc. Less brain fog. And then, of course, as a person might develop dementia. This has actually been referred to in some cases, forms of this anyways, as um, type 3 diabetes. So the ketogenic diet helps with that as well going forward. Okay, great. Very good timing, Sophie. So, okay, great. Yes, all of these health problems do have a common denominator, and it is the inability of the body to produce energy sufficient to maintain health or heal itself. So, just to elaborate on that a little bit, the body, in order to do anything, has to have energy. If it's going to repair itself, if it's in a healing crisis, it needs extra energy in order to repair itself. And when the mitochondria become damaged or there's less of them, then the body actually begins to break down and it can no longer repair just the common everyday things that it needs to repair, never mind the stressors from, different toxins we have in our environment, or any of these different things we might have going on in our lives, from bad food or whatever. So the ketogenic diet helps repair that. And one of the ways it does that is by improving the ability of the body to use insulin. The body has a whole set of hormones, obviously, that it uses to function, and insulin is the one that is directly related to energy production. And I'm sure everyone's heard of insulin, it's very common. But if you are in a state where you've been eating high carbohydrate and even high sugar, obviously, but a person can be healthy and eat very healthy, high quality foods, but if they're high in carbohydrates, you could still be inhibiting the ability of your body to produce energy by having a high level of insulin all the time. The funny thing is, people get tested for high sugar levels, but really they should be tested for high insulin levels, because this comes even before a person begins to get high sugar. They go hand in hand. And it is the high insulin that can lead to a lot of the complications that we experience in different health problems. In the next slide, of course, we'll look at the problems that can be, there we go, happen because of high insulin. So these are all related to high insulin, amazingly enough. So we've gone over some of these. We have dementia, regarding the brain, or stroke also. These you might not think would be caused by a hormone being high, but they actually are directly related. And when the hormone insulin is down or able to be controlled and utilized correctly, many of the chronic problems a person is having will disappear. Obviously there can be other complications, but this is a key one. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fatty liver, diabetes, of course, we're all familiar with that one. And with the fatty liver, it's interesting. This doesn't mean you've been eating fat and therefore your liver is fatty. It's actually you start having a fatty liver or any of these symptoms because of a high carbohydrate diet. So even if you're eating organic potatoes all the time, if that's something that's a big part of your diet, for example, it could be a cause for high insulin and different health complications. So we just wanted to go over those. Obviously, the program that we're doing is very much targeted toward helping a person lose weight. But we just want to emphasize that it is doing that by improving a person's overall health and by helping a person with various situations that they might have regarding their health, not just losing weight. So, cool. Great. Okay, so it's just a little more about that. Yeah, so one of the things people don't realize is that as you have high insulin, one of the symptoms can be the body stops flowing blood as much because the arteries get clogged or various parts of the body get clogged, and this can lead to nerve damage. And if you've ever had a spot on your body that was not, you couldn't have a lot of sensation there, or you felt like your extremities were cold all the time, all of this is a symptom, or could be one of the major symptoms of having high insulin. So that can cause nerve damage due to reduced blood flow. Yeah, I touched on this. So you have your healthy liver, and then you have your fatty liver, which basically can lead to cirrhosis. And this is something that it's interesting. People think of liver cleanse as you're gonna juice all your vegetables and eat them as one of your main things that you eat for a week or two, or however long you can handle eating just juiced vegetables, right? One of the interesting things is that the ketogenic diet actually is a liver detox because some of the, when you do it correctly and you're eating within the guidelines that we'll go over, it actually helps your liver repair because it's the high carbohydrates and high insulin that causes this damage. It causes the fat to build up. So your liver is very key in producing energy. So when it's being overwhelmed by various high carb foods, it gets damaged. So a liver cleanse is actually built in to your ketogenic diet if you're doing it correctly. All right, so this is a little bit about pictorial demonstration of what happens. So high carbohydrate meal. And again, this looks mostly like fast food here, but it could just be high carbohydrate healthy food, since I know I'm talking to people who are eating more healthily and aware of that. This leads to high blood sugar. So the high sugar, this is the red line, obviously that's supposed to be an artery or vein or something. So that leads to high blood sugar. And then your insulin kicks in to try to handle that high blood sugar. And it's either going to try to force the blood sugar, after several steps, into the cells for energy production, or it's going to turn it into fat. So yes, insulin is the hormone that makes people fat, both internally and externally. That's why we want to lower it to help with weight management and fat. But as soon as that cell gets full, then it immediately turns the rest into fat. And in the next slides here, you see how little sugar you actually need. And then, yeah, here we go. So it's 1 teaspoon per, the entire amount of blood in your body. And obviously, this is roughly speaking. If you're 6'7", 100, 200 and some pound male, then you're probably gonna have a little more blood than someone who's under 100 pounds. But it still holds. It's about a teaspoon per the entire quantity of blood that you have that is normal blood sugar. So this is the state where you would be. You wouldn't have any mood swings. You wouldn't be, you'd be using all the sugar that is available in your body for healthy purposes. So the next one gives a little more on this, I think. Yes, so this is the average amount of sugar that people eat. Now, mind you, this doesn't mean that this isn't just like white sugar that you've eaten. This could come from, carbohydrates that are refined and things like that as well. But 31 teaspoons of sugar per day. That I'd say would actually be a low estimate for people who are on the standard American diet. And I've seen people who, they get that in one meal, between their soft drink and other things. But so as you can see, that's 30 teaspoons too much. So all 30 of those teaspoons are turned into fat, which is sometimes stored outside where we can see it, and sometimes it's packed in and leads to what the first thing it leads to is a fatty liver, and then it gets packed in around all your other organs, and then it depends on your body type. Sometimes some people will have all their fat packed in and they don't think they have a problem, but because they look thin on the outside, but they actually have a lot of visceral fat, which is one of the things Nutritional Wellness Center tests for and checks for, and helps with the program. And this will help with that as well. Okay. Okay, so this is an example of, how it normally works when there's a fuel source in the body. So in a normal cell, the fuel, in most cases, this is from sugar or carbohydrates, goes through a series of processes in the body and then goes into the cell, and it's facilitated into the cell through the hormone insulin. But as you can see, when the cell has begun to resist insulin, and the fuel can't get into the cell. And what this leads to is those hunger pains. You eat a meal and you're like, well, I should be good for a few hours. And then, half an hour later, you're hungry. Well, there's some level of insulin resistance going on there. And the reason the body has developed insulin resistance is because it's been exposed to so many meals with too many sugars or carbohydrates in them that it's begun to protect itself. Because what what the carbohydrates and sugar turn into is glucose. And too much glucose is actually poisonous to your cells. It causes them to break down. So you don't want too much, and the cell protects itself by resisting insulin. So then it no longer is able to use insulin, but then that sends the signal to your stomach that, oh, I'm hungry, I need more food. So now you're trying to eat more food, which brings in more carbohydrates, which creates more reason for resistance to insulin to protect the cell. And as you can see, it's just a snowball effect of problems there. Okay, great. So this is a little bit of information about what happens when you eat different types of food. So the bottom line is the time factor, and then the top is how much your sugar. It says glucose. This is also referring to blood sugar. Kind of, you can use those interchangeably, and insulin and sugar, blood sugar and insulin pretty much always go up at the same time. So carbohydrates, and this would include sugars, peaks the fastest. So you get this big peak, you get that energy boost for a very short time, and then bam, you drop. We're all familiar with the sugar high and crash. And then protein can also actually be used in the production of glucose and producing energy. It goes through a different process than carbohydrates, but it has less of a spike. So that's a little easier on your liver and on your body. And then, of course, as you see, fat has the least spike and the longest amount of time that energy will last. So you're going to train your body in the ketogenic diet to use fat to produce all of its energy, pretty much, and you will be able to eat less and be more satisfied for a longer period of time. It's actually nice. You don't have to eat as much. You can just get things done. That's another benefit, side benefit, I guess. So, anyways, that's all. Great. Okay, great. So this is actually how we recommend that you do the ketogenic diet. Now, you've probably seen some examples. Everybody says you just eat high fat, moderate carbohydrate, or moderate protein, and low carbs. But really, that's not quite the full picture. You need to increase your veggie. And I'm just going to say this as probably one of the most important factors, maybe even more important than the fat content. You have to have both. But you have to increase your veggies because when your body is trying to change, it actually changed to use fat for fuel. It has to build new machinery. It has to build new cellular machinery, and the body needs a lot of different protein or vitamins and minerals to do that, potassium being one of the big ones. So we say in the veggies, at least 7 to 10 cups per day. And this may seem like a large quantity, but it ends up being only about 5% of your carbohydrate allowance for the day, just because we're not eating any starchy vegetables. We're talking like greens and cruciferous vegetables, these type of things. So the macros, this means like the large different nutrients that we're going to be using, is 70% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbohydrate, and 5% veggie or salad carbohydrates. So about 10% carbohydrates. Generally, when you start, you want to try to keep those carbohydrates really low because you're training your body at that point to use fat for fuel, to produce these different things that the body can use for fuel. And the way you do that is basically by fasting carbs. You basically eliminate the carbohydrate source, and your body automatically switches over to using fat for fuel. The other reason you don't want to use a lot of protein, you don't want to have like 50% fat and add another 20 to your protein, is because your body will also use protein to produce glucose. So really, you're trying to make at least 70% of your diet, calories come from fat. And then you're going to make sure you have a lot of veggies in there. So it has the tools, it has basically the ability to change over. One reason people take a long time to get into ketosis is because they haven't added the necessary support vitamins and minerals to allow the body to create the new machinery, cellular machinery, to become keto adapted, or fat adapted, as they call it. So that's basically the outline on that. Obviously, everyone is different. And some people get into ketosis within 2 to 3 days. That's generally the fastest. You'd have to be in pretty good health to do that. And others can take 2 to 3 or 4 weeks to get into ketosis. It's not to discourage anyone, but there is a method of how you go about it. Some people are more able to tolerate and digest fats more quickly, and therefore they are able to move into ketosis faster. If you're not able to digest fats as easily, then we do things to help you improve your ability to digest fats as we're getting you into ketosis. And this can be done with supplements, apple cider vinegar. Sure, everybody knows that's super healthy. It also helps you with digestion. Okay, so next slide here. Yes, get healthy, lose weight loss program. So again, we are definitely able to help you lose weight, and many people will lose, 5 pounds in the first week of doing the ketogenic diet. Now, mind you, a lot of that is water weight. Per studies, per what all the people who tried to improve weight loss techniques have discovered, is you cannot lose more than 2 pounds of fat, body fat per week. That's just the limit on what the body can lose. The rest that you're losing, if you're losing more than 2 pounds, is water weight, which in the beginning is fine. If you have extra body weight in the form of fat, then a lot of that is water. It's just the way the fat molecules are made up. So it's fine to lose water weight in the beginning. Eventually, you're going to be just losing fat, and if you're losing a couple pounds a week of fat, then you're doing excellent. You're doing as good as you possibly could do. Actually, you want to make sure as you've gotten into the diet a few weeks into it, you're not. If you're still losing 5 pounds or more, then we're going to take a look at and make sure you're not diminishing, any of your muscle, because we also don't want your body to lose any muscle. Actually, if we do the intermittent fasting factor correctly, then you should gain muscle without necessarily extra exercise, because of the way intermittent fasting allows the body to perform a process where it actually recycles its cellular debris, the things in the cell that it doesn't need anymore, or that are extra pieces, or whatever you might call them. And by doing that, you can actually gain muscle mass while losing weight. It's really the best of both worlds if you're doing it right. But everybody's body is different, so it's important you do it in a certain way. So yes, so a little bit about our program and how that works.
Can I interrupt you for one quick second?
Yeah, go ahead, of course.
Come up in the chat. Just wondering about examples of the good fats to be eating. If you could share some of those you were talking about.
Great. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in my chat here. Okay, cool. Yeah, good fats. Great question. So basically you want to go high quality. The fats that you're looking to use would depend a little bit on what your body processes the best. Some people have a problem with dairy, so we keep them away from high fat cheeses. People who have a problem with dairy are usually okay with butter. Butter is usually a pretty universal, safe one. Healthy butter, though, you don't want to get just the normal butter that they offer. The most common one is actually not good for you. It has a ratio of the things that make up fat are called fatty acids. And in butter that has not been gotten from cows that are healthy, that are organic, that are grass-fed, the ratio of those fatty acids is such that it's actually not very good for you. So you want to get butter added to your diet is a key one. Making sure, again, grass-fed is the best, organic, and if you can get something local, of course, that's great. And then the other ones, of course, coconut. It can just be the coconut itself. It's a little bit, you have to watch that. There's more carbs than you want to do in coconut. So coconut oil in the beginning is good. If you go for MCT oil, this is a popular one. You want to make sure it's organic and preferably comes from a coconut source. These are some of the highest quality MCT oils. There are those out there that are not, again, good for you because of the low quality. You can also get fat from just the meat you eat. If you eat a fatty burger, again, grass-fed, organic, it's got to be high quality. So when you get your burgers, don't go for the 95% lean. Get the 80-20. So 80% protein, 20% fat. And then that will allow you to get some healthy fats from your meat. You can also, of course, get lard. Again, got to make sure it's high quality, but that's a good source. There's actually cacao butter, which I love. You can make these little, you may have heard of fat bombs. I don't know, they become part of my life now. So I think everybody knows about them, but maybe not. So it's basically just a treat, whether it's savory or sweet, made out of a lot of fat. It's a way to get fat easily into your diet. It's high quality. But you can make a cacao butter fat bomb and add chocolate to it and a low carb uh, option for sweetener. We don't use any sugar. In the beginning, you're not going to even use something like honey or maple syrup or anything like that. You want to use one of the replacements like stevia or any of the others out there as well. So those are some good sources of fat. I'm sure there's others. Nuts, of course, are a great source of fat. If you want to stick to your high fat nuts like pecans, macadamias, there's a nut called the pili nut. It's actually the highest fat nut in the world that I know of anyways. And then, of course, avocados. I recommend you get your fat in avocados from the avocado itself, but avocado oil, if it's high quality, is okay as well. So that's a handful anyways. Great. Were there any other questions? Okay, great. Okay, good. So I will go into the, basically an outline of how the program would work. So the way we're going to lay it out is 6 sessions. The first 4 would be weekly. And you're going to basically learn how to, based off of what your body already digests and processes well, how to create a ketogenic diet that is tailored to you. So in the beginning, each lesson, each session has education with it, so that you understand how to do it going forward. Because obviously, you're going to want to do this for more than than basically 2 months of working with me. The first 6 sessions are, like I said, weekly, and then the last 2 would be bi-weekly. So it ends up being about 2 months. And we'll plan out what your meals should be. What are some options if you are, don't have that? What can you replace it with? So you really are kind of like a toolkit for getting into ketosis and staying there. Troubleshooting, of course. So if you are, running into any situations, some things come up when a person's moving into what we call becoming fat adapted or in a ketogenic state. They need to figure out why their body isn't getting into it faster, or all that fat sometimes can be a little bit of a digestive issue for people. So there's reasons why this would occur, and we'll help troubleshoot that and handle anything. And the nice thing about that is it's a double. You're getting into ketosis, so perhaps you can lose some weight or improve some health situation. You're also going to make it, whatever the underlying cause for not being able to get into ketosis will be handled as part of it as well. And after we've gotten you into ketosis, probably after a week or so, we're going to add intermittent fasting. That's the IF there. So intermittent fasting is where we'll start making it. And don't worry, when you're in ketosis, your hunger changes. You don't actually usually want to eat as much. So what we normally do is we start a person with just 3 meals a day, no snacks. And then as you go along, we'll, based on how your body's reacting, we'll start adding longer periods between certain meals. And then we'll help you ease into the intermittent fasting and get to a point where you're actually burning fat 24/7 from your own body. And that's not the easiest thing to do, but it can definitely be done if you just follow the guidelines and do everything. So yes, this program definitely helps you lose weight, improve your health, and overall wellness by restoring mitochondrial function. So yeah, just to go back to that mitochondrial function, Sophie touched on earlier, when we're doing the ketosis, the ketogenic diet, and getting you into ketosis, your energy levels will increase. Your cognitive levels will stay more steady. You'll find it easier to concentrate. And this isn't because fat does that for you. It's because you're improving your mitochondrial function. You're increasing the amount of mitochondria in each cell, and your brain, it's a very large number of mitochondria in each cell. So, increased brain function, that's always a good thing. And then it does the same throughout the body. So every organ has cells, and every cell has mitochondria. So your overall ability to both repair organs and have more energy will go up. And that is a key part of what we're trying to do and get healthy. The order is get healthy and then lose weight. They kind of happen at the same time, but that's the way we like to emphasize it. So that's that.
Great.
Yeah.
Ryan, a couple questions have come in.
Oh, okay.
So I'll ask you those. One is a high fat diet a problem if you've had your gallbladder removed?
Let me address that one first. So, yeah, it's not necessarily, interestingly enough, because what the gallbladder does is it stores and concentrates bile. So your liver is producing it, and it just has to get trained to produce more of it. And when you're eating higher fat, as it produces more of it, it has to release more of it so that your body can digest it. And we use things, well, Sophie, obviously, anybody who's seeing her or Fabs would know which are the best supplements for you based on what works for you. But we have things called bile salts built into the standard process supplements that help a body build up its ability to produce bile. And then also other supplements that help break down fats. There's one called, was it Super EFF? I think, yeah. So this could help a person break down fats too. So we have all sorts of tools. So it's not a barrier at all. It's just something to mention when we start so that we think within and address it correctly. But your body's still producing bile, or you won't be able to digest fats at all and other things. So definitely not a problem, but let me know when we get to that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And another question is, what are some potential reasons why someone might not get into ketosis?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. We should do a whole nother seminar on that. But basically, if you are in any way compromised on your hormone production or your liver health, or need a liver detox, or you have digestive issues, any of these things are usually the first things we go to when trying to get a person into ketosis faster. So let's say a person has, a liver that's not functioning very well. The way the energy is produced from fat is the liver turns the fat into, let's just generally say, something that the body can then use for energy. And in doing so, it has to be fairly, have enough energy, comes back to that mitochondria, to do that. And so if it's a bit sluggish, or, it's not, it's kind of been overloaded with carbs for too long, then it could take a little longer. It's not like it's going to take forever. Everybody can get into ketosis. Well, everybody that I've worked with or, learned about has been able to. I'm just saying that sometimes it can take longer. So the needing a detox in the liver part, if a person has trouble digesting fats chronically, then that's something we may need to work on in the beginning to begin doing stuff. The other thing is that as a person transfers over into ketosis and starts getting into ketosis, there's a snowball effect because your body no longer has the stores of carbohydrates. They're stored in the body in a different form than obviously what you eat, but it loses all those stores. So it has no option but to go into ketosis. So it does just kind of happen at some point if you follow the diet correctly. But those are a couple of things that I can think of off the top of my head.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it can be complicated. Sometimes you have to do a little
Yes. And Sophie and Fabs are there to help us as well if we run into snags, of course.
Yeah. I thought it was just important to bring up that working with Ryan, it's all done virtually. I don't think that's not said here, but just so that's clear to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
It's all virtual. And then we had another question come in, just what an example of a good dinner could be.
A good ketogenic dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you like. I like, I'm kind of partial to fatty meats. So like a pork chop, obviously don't go completely overboard. You can definitely go overboard on the fat. It's actually not that hard to get enough fat in your diet to get into ketosis. But you could have a pork chop, and then cruciferous vegetable is great. Really helps support the body with the nutrients it needs to be in and get into ketosis. And then a salad on the side with could be some sort of dressing. I like the avocado dressing mixed with dill and I'll get into this mixed with dill and olive oil on like a large salad on the side. And then for dessert, you could have a fat bomb. Man, I was talking about that earlier, and they are amazing if you do it right. So that would be an example. It's pretty easy to make, and just think with you're omitting the potato, right? You're omitting the bread, and everything else should obviously be high quality. But that would be the general idea.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, right.
Let's go on to Fabs' story.
Oh, great. Yes, everybody knows Fabs, my amazing, wonderful wife. So she was one of the first people that I started working with on the ketogenic diet, and I'll just read her success story here. You can see her picture as well, before and after. So I was already familiar with intermittent fasting and had some success with weight loss, but something was missing. I started working with Ryan at the beginning of May 2021. He helped me incorporate the keto lifestyle into what I was already doing in conjunction with everything else I was doing. My weight started to drop, my energy levels increased, my body's shape began to change, my sweet cravings became manageable. So far, I've lost 29 pounds and feel so much better. And
Woohoo!
that's just since May. So that's pretty amazing, right? Yeah. So, and if anybody knows about Fabs and her energy levels, they are definitely not an issue. So her energy levels increasing, it's a powerful force. So, but yeah, she's done great on it, and obviously, it's easier with us. I have close tabs on her and whatnot. But yeah, so she's done great with that. So thank you, Fabs, for your success story.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And this is what we're doing. So you want me to go over this, Sophie?
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, I
Okay.
realize here it does say virtual, so that's great. Yeah, we were
Okay,
just
great.
yeah.
Great.
This is
So yeah, so this is now available. We already have a few people scheduled, but definitely want to get my day filled up. So it's the Get Healthy, Lose Weight. That's very important. We're getting you healthy in order to lose weight. And that's not to say you're not already healthy, but this is healthy in regards to your body's ability to lose weight specifically. So it's a keto and intermittent fasting weight loss program at Nutritional Wellness Center. It'll be $299, and that's for the 6 one-on-one virtual sessions, step-by-step customized program, meal planning, troubleshooting, tailor-made keto and intermittent fasting plan. We will do, even if you haven't for a while or you're new to it, most of you won't be. We will do a thing where you track what you're eating, and we go over that and work out what's causing what. And of course, it'll be with me, and I will be your keto consultant, and will help you create your health. There we
wonderful.
go.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Of course, my pleasure. This was great.
Yeah. And so the main way, if you want to working with Ryan right away, is you just call the office, right? And just the normal way you'd schedule an appointment. They'll schedule you with Ryan. And
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
Looking forward to
yep,
working with you guys.
yeah, yeah. You can email, call, text, however works for you to get that set up. Um,
Absolutely.
and I'm well, we can hang out for a few more minutes if folks have more questions. I know we were answering as we went along, which was great.
Sure.
Things
Okay.
pop in, that's great. Or well done. We did almost like exactly to an hour. So
Oh, did we?
yeah,
Good.
that's good.
Okay, great.
Um,
Great. Yeah, or if there are questions you think of later that you want to email in or whatever, we can definitely get back to you on those.
yes, we can. Okay. Okay. Oh, maybe something's popping in. Um, yeah, folks are just saying thank you. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
my pleasure.
Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to stop the
Thank-
recording now. So it is going to make that announcement again.
Okay, bye everyone.
Yeah. And, but yeah, if we'll be here still, even when the recording stops for a moment.